Hi guys. This is a video lesson about how to multiply and divide fractions. If you feel like you know what you're doing as you're watching this, go ahead and move on. If you need to watch the whole thing, that's fine. There's a bunch of examples. We're going to try to include integer rules as we're doing this. So just make sure you're thinking through what you're doing and using what you know. Okay, so our goal today is to be able to multiply and divide fractions and mixed numbers. Okay, we worked on adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers the other day. Now we're working on multiplying and dividing fractions and mixed numbers. So when we think about multiplying and dividing fractions and mixed numbers, typically people think this is a lot easier, okay, than adding and subtracting because of one big thing. There is no common denominator, okay, that we need. So we don't need a common denominator, okay? But there are some things that we can do that are special to just multiplying and just dividing. So when we multiply fractions, basically what we're going to do is we're going to go straight across. Or before that, you can try to look and see if there's anything that you can cross cancel, okay, along the diagonals there. There's not in this case, 2 and 5, there's nothing that cancels. So we're just going to go straight across. 1 and 5, nothing that cancels. So this is just going to give us an answer of 2/25, okay? Dividing fractions is a little bit different. Dividing, if we remember from class, has a little saying. We say keep, okay, switch, and then flip, or keep, change, and then flip. So we're going to keep that. We're going to change this, and then we're going to flip this fraction. Once we flipped it, then we follow multiplying rules. Okay, so for multiplying, you can go straight across. Okay, or again, you can look to cancel. And if I look to cancel here, what I notice is I have a 5 and a 5. Okay, they're going to cancel each other out because I'm going to divide them both by 5. And I'm going to get 1 and 1. So that's going to leave us, when we multiply, of 2 times 1, which is 2, 1 times 1, which is 1. So an answer just of 2. Okay? So we're going to go through both of these types of problems today, multiplying first. We're also going to use our integer rules. When we think about multiplying and dividing integers, okay, keys that we have to think about, this Mr. Multiple Division guy down here was really, really important for us. So if there was a pair of negatives, that made a positive. Okay, we talked in class, if there was one lonely negative, okay, they were going to make the answer negative. But if the negative had a buddy, okay, or a pair, then that would make it positive. So negatives by themselves are negative, and pairs are positive when you're multiplying and dividing. So let's go through this example here. So to multiply fractions, you want to follow these steps here. I'm sorry, that's kind of blurry. So you want to turn any mixed numbers that you have into improper fractions. You're going to try to cross cancel. You're going to multiply straight across, and then you're going to simplify or reduce at the end if you need to. So looking at this, okay, what we can do here, going straight across, see if I can move this so it's a little bit better. We can look on the diagonal here. We have a 5 and a 3. Can't cancel those. There's nothing that goes into 5 and 3. 9 and 1, nothing that goes in there. So we're just going to go straight across. And this is where your multiplying skills are going to come in, guys, getting better at those. We've got 5/27. We can't reduce either of those, okay, so we are done. In this case here, I notice I have one negative. So as soon as I know I have a negative, I'm going to use Mr. Multiple Division, okay? And I look at this problem and I see I have one negative and one positive. So using Mr. Multiple Division, I know my answer is going to be a negative, okay? So I'm going to put that right away. And then what I can do is kind of get rid of the negative and just do the problem like normal. So I'm going to look on the diagonals here. I notice I have a 5 and a 10. I can divide 5 and 10 both by 5. When I do that, that becomes a 1, and I'm going to circle it so I know what number I have there, and that becomes a 2. 9 and 8 have nothing in common there, so I can't do anything there. So I'm just going to go ahead and go straight across. 1 times 9 is 9. 8 times 2 is 16. So my answer there is negative 9/16. Okay, so here I was able to cross cancel. If I didn't cross cancel, I would have had negative 45 over 80. That's an okay answer, but you're going to have to divide to reduce at the end, which is still going to give you the right answer, negative 9/16. But some of us have a harder time dividing. So if we can cross cancel sooner, okay, it'll make our lives a little bit easier. This question here, again, I see a negative in my problem, so I'm going to use Mr. Multiple Division. I have 2 negatives, so I know 2 negatives make a positive, so I'm going to put a plus sign there. And now I can just treat it like any other multiplying problem. So I'm going to look on my diagonals, 6 and 12. I know I can divide both of those by 6. That's going to give me a 2. That's going to give me a 1. 5 and 7, I can't do anything there. So I'm just going to go straight across. 1 times 5 is 5. 7 times 2 is 14. So my answer there is 5/14. Now, if we have mixed numbers, okay, it's basically the same, except we have to make sure we're doing this key first step. We need to turn any mixed numbers into improper fractions, just like we did when we were adding. So to do this, we're going to multiply and add. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is 18 over 5, times 9 plus 2 is 11 over 3. So looking at this, 11 and 5, they don't have anything in common, so I can't cancel there. So I really hope I can do something here. 18 and 3 I can divide them both by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So now I have 6 times 11 in the numerator going straight across. 66. 5 times 1 is 5. So I can leave my answer like that, or if I wanted to, I can change this to 13 and 1/5. Okay? That's up to you. Either of those are okay. I would prefer this one, if I'm honest. In 8th grade, you're going to do a lot with improper fractions. Now, again, this question here, I see a negative, so I'm going to go ahead and draw Mr. Multiple Division. Okay, and I know I'm multiplying, so that's important. I'm going to make these improper, multiply and add, 15 and 16, but it's just a negative, and that's okay. Negative 16 over 3 times 12 and 1 is 13 over 4. Okay. Looking at this, I know right now I have one negative and one positive. So using Mr. Multiple Division, I know my answer is going to be a negative, so I'm going to do that. And then I can kind of get rid of my negative there. 13 and 3, I can't cancel it all. 16 and 4, I can divide both of them by 4. That's going to give me 4 and 1. 4 times 13, I can stack and multiply over here. 13 times 4, 12, carry the 1, and 5. So I've got negative 52 over 3. Okay. And I can't simplify that, so I'm good to go, and I'm done. Last multiplying question here. I see 2 negatives, and I know 2 negatives are going to go ahead and make me a positive. So I'm just going to write a plus sign there because I know my answer is going to be a positive. I'm going to make these improper. 5 times 2 is 10, and 4 is 14. So 14 over 5. Now notice I'm dropping the negative here because I've already identified that my answer is going to be a positive. Okay, so I'm trying to make my life easier here. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7 over 2. Again, I dropped the negative because I already know I'm multiplying 2 negatives using Mr. Multiple Division. My answer is going to be a positive. So looking at this, okay, we've got 14 over 5 times 7 over 2. I don't see anything I can cancel there. So this means I'm going to have to do some ugly multiplying. 14 times 7, 4 times 7 is 28. Carry it, and I'm going to get a 9 there. So I've got 98 over 10. Now, could I have canceled here? Yep, I didn't see this one. Divide them both by 2. That would have been a 7, and that would have been a 1. Because what I noticed here was that these are both even numbers. So I can divide these by 2 here. Okay, and I would have had 49 over 5. Okay, that's what I would have had if I canceled back here. So you can cancel at the end or you can cancel at the beginning. It doesn't matter. Okay, I think it's easier if you cancel at the beginning, but even though I missed it on that one, you can still fix it at the end. So to divide fractions, okay, things go a little bit differently. What we need to do here is to divide a fraction, what we actually want to do is we want to turn it into a multiplication problem because we were pretty good at those multiplying questions. So to do that, we use keep, change, flip. That should sound familiar to you. Okay, so we're going to keep the first fraction, 1/3. We're going to change the divide to a multiply, and we're going to flip this last fraction like that. Now, once it's multiplied, now you can try to cross cancel. So now you can go back to what you did with multiplying. So I'm going to use black to show the multiplication and purple to show the switching. Okay. Once it's a multiplication problem, I try to cross cancel. 7 and 3, nope. 1 and 3 can't do it. So now I just go straight across, and I end up with 7/9. Okay. So I'm going to use some different colors here because the purple and the black don't look different enough. But I'll use red and black, and hopefully that'll show up. So we'll show the red for the beginning piece of this, and then we'll show the black for the multiplying. Okay. So what we're going to do first is we're going to keep, change, and flip. So we're going to keep the 4/9. We're going to change the divide to a multiply, and we're going to flip this guy over. the 3 over 1. Now I can keep the negative in the numerator. Something else I'm going to do right away is I'm drawing my Mr. Multiple Division because I see that I have one negative there. And I know if I have one negative and one positive, like this situation, my answer is going to be a negative. So I'm just going to put a negative sign there, and then I can just actually make that go away. Okay. Now that I've changed it to a multiplying problem, now I'm allowed to try to think about cross canceling. So I have a 3 and a 9. Those are going to cross cancel. Okay, that's going to become a 3. That's going to become a 1. Now I just go straight across, 4 over 3. But my answer is a negative, so I'm going to bring that down. So I know my answer is negative 4 over 3. In this question here, I see I'm dividing and I have 2 negatives. So I know I'm going to use Mr. Multiple Division. If I have 2 negatives, I know I end up with a positive. So my answer is going to be a positive. So I'm going to put that there. And then I can get rid of these negative signs in here so as to not confuse me. So I'm going to turn any mixed numbers into improper fractions. Oh, don't have any, so we're good. Keep the 3/4. Change the divide to a multiply and flip this guy over, the reciprocal. So then we've got 6/3. Okay. Now we can do this like a multiplying problem. 6 and 4, I can divide them both by 2. That becomes a 3. That becomes a 2. 3 and 3 will cancel to 1s each. So now I know my answer is just positive 3 over 2. Okay. If we have mixed numbers, okay, the only trick here is making sure you change them to improper before you try to do any multiplying. So we're going to change these to improper. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12 over 5. We still have a dividing here. This is 9 and 10 over 3. Okay. Really make sure when you change it to improper, you don't change the divide yet. You keep it as a multiply. Okay. So now what we'll do here is we'll do the flipping. Okay. So we'll have 12 over 5 times 3 over 10. So now that it's a multiplication problem, we can try to cross cancel 12 and 10. Divide them both by 2. That's a 6. That's a 5. So what I've got now, multiplying straight across, is 18 over 25. I notice in this question I have one negative and one positive, so I know using Mr. Multiple Division, one negative and one positive leaves a negative answer. So I know my answer is negative, and then I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. So what I've got to do now is make these improper. So improper fractions, 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15 over 4, divided by 35 over 6. Now we need to flip these, 15 over 4, keep it, change and flip. And now we need to think, can we cross cancel it all? Okay, because I don't want to multiply 4 times 35 and 15 times 6. Those are big multiplications. So 6 and 4, I can divide them both by 2. That's a 2, and that's a 3. 35 and 15, I'm going to divide them both by 5. That's a 7. That's a 3. Going straight across now, I've got 3 times 3, which is 9. 2 times 7, which is 14. But I knew to start the problem that my answer was negative. So my answer here is negative 9/14. Almost there, guys. Okay, last question. Looking at this, I know I have 2 negatives. 2 negatives make a positive. Okay, so I know that my answer here is going to be a positive something. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of those negative signs and just do the rest of the problem. I'm going to multiply and add, okay, to make them improper. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 2 is 16/7, divided by 6 plus 2 is 8/3. We can keep, change, and flip. Then we can do our cross canceling. 16 and 8, 1 and 2. Can't do anything with 3 and 7, so we go straight across and we end up with positive 6/7. So this is work that we've done before, okay? And I know that was pretty fast, so if you need to go back and rewatch that, that's fine. So what you're doing today, you're going to do your Math Facts Pro. Again, this is the same thing you've been doing for the past few days. If you don't have your account set up yet, please go back to Monday, April the 13th. There's a video there that tells you how to solve or how to set that up. It's pretty easy, okay? So Monday, April the 13th, all right, is where you can find that video, okay? there's going to be a spot for you on your Canvas assignment today to put in how many facts you know. Look at the image that'll be there to help you out to know what number you're going to put in. So your Canvas assignment for today is April 17th, multiplying and dividing fractions. Please make sure you do the first 4 questions. And then the last question is your Math Facts Pro score. So please make sure you're also staying caught up on your assignments. I know it's really hard, but if you get behind, it's a lot harder to get back up to speed. So if you need help, please make sure you reach out, send me an email. Over the weekend, I'll be checking them sometimes, but during the week, I'm pretty consistent and check my email during the day. So hope you're all doing well. Take care and let me know if you have any questions.